Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope your day and your weekend have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 5 new MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. But first, before we dive into today's picks, a quick little recap of how we did last night. And unfortunately, guys, our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay did not come through for us. 3 out of 5 legs did hit. David Peterson ended it very early for us. He had the worst inning of the season. Pittsburgh has been one of the worst hitting teams. They scored 4 runs off of him in just the second inning. So rough start. The parlay was dead upon arrival pretty early on. We did then hit Jazz Chisholm, Andy Diaz, Gavin Lux all had solid games. But then also it doesn't even matter because Jarren Duran, although he did go 1 for 4, did not strike out. So an unfortunate miss, but with plus 677, excuse me. You know, it was a long shot to begin with, but honestly, hitting 3 out of 5, we had some good data. Unfortunately, did not come all the way through for us. That's just kind of the parlay game, but it is what it is. It's yesterday. It's old news. We got a new day. We got fresh 5 new player props and absolutely no time to waste. So, guys, let's just dive right into today's MLB picks. All right, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first player prop in today's video comes from the Athletics-Yankees game, 1:05 p.m. first pitch. We got Jazz Chisholm Jr. of the New York Yankees over half a total base. So we did bet on him yesterday in the parlay. We're kind of running it back again with him today. This one a little high in terms of odds. We are grabbing it ourselves for -150 on BetMGM. It is available on a varying number of sports books for a variety of odds. -150, ESPN Bet, BetMGM. Those are the 2 sports books available to me. So I'm going to rock with -150. And the data is pretty solid across the board here for Jazz, including last night. He had a home run last night, 4 total bases, obviously very good. He's cashed this over. We only need him to get 1 base here to cash this player prop. So just a hit of any kind, a single, double, triple, home run, doesn't matter what it is. As long as he gets a hit in this game, we cash the over. And just to clarify, guys, all the bets in today's video are straight bets. Yesterday was a parlay. Today, all 5 player props are a straight bet. Just want to go ahead and clarify that. So Jazz, 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. That is, of course, an 80% hit rate, averaging 2.3 total bases per game over the last 10 games. So very solid numbers. And if you want to go ahead and stretch the data out, it is still pretty solid. 65% hit rate over his last 20 games, averaging 1.95 total bases per game over his last 20 games. Stretch it out even further to the entire 2025 season view. Still very strong numbers, 59% hit rate, 30 out of 51 games. He's cashed the over this year, averaging 1.71 total bases per game. But again, like we mentioned in the beginning of this player prop, the last 10 games have been especially impressive for Jazz, with 8 of his last 10 games cashing the over. And he's averaging over 2 bases per game over the last 10 games. From a head-to-head perspective, we also have some pretty solid data. 4 of his last 6 matchups with the Athletics, he's cashed the over, averaging 1.67 total bases per game across the last 6 matchups with the A's. And again, last night, 4 total bases. He hit a home run last night. So pretty strong start to this series. And then this is kind of the insights provided by Outlier. It just sort of reiterates what we just talked about. Jazz has exceeded the over of half a base in 8 of his last 9 games, so on a really solid run of late, averaging just shy of 2.6 total bases per game over the last 9 games. Look at the key matchup stats down below. Jazz Chisholm versus JP Sears. 3 plate appearances since 2018, so a small sample size. He does have 1 hit. He actually hit a triple off of him in that 1 hit, so pretty solid, but again, very small sample size, not too much to go off of. Jazz overall this season having an okay year, pretty solid, 242 batting average. All of his numbers look to be decent. It could be better, but he obviously had a little bit of a slower start to the season. Versus left-handed pitchers, if we narrow it in a little bit, the batting average and BABIP, you do see some increases. Unfortunately, the ISO and extra base hit percentage do drop a little bit, but again, when you're dealing with only half a total base, we're not as concerned with extra base hits. We just need a hit of any kind. Now for JP Sears, the only number of his that increases, and it actually is pretty important here, is the batting average allowed versus left-handed batters increases to 283. The other numbers do drop. His ERA, his slugging, and his extra base hit percentage, they all drop. But even at the decreased lines, especially when talking about the slugging percentage and the extra base hit percentage, they're still pretty high even at the decreased line. And if we go ahead and refer to the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports, you do see the right side of the screen here. Jazz Chisholm over the last 30 days, batting .316 with a .732 OPS versus left-handed pitchers. So again, the overall numbers for him versus left-handed pitchers was solid, .245 on the year, but in the last 30 days, he's been especially solid with .316 batting average and .732 OPS. So really solid first player prop to kick off today's video. Moving on, guys, our second player prop in today's video, we have Twins, Tigers, 1:10 p.m. first pitch. We have Brooks Lee of the Minnesota Twins over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. It's actually a plus money play. We're grabbing it for plus 115 over on BetMGM. Again, available on a number of different sports books for a variety of different odds. Some sports books have it as a plus money play, some don't. We're getting it for plus 115 over on BetMGM. And Brooks Lee has been on a very solid run of late. 8 of his last 10 games, including 5 consecutive games, he's cashed the over. He's averaging 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. But again, narrowing it down to the last 5 games, 100% hit rate, averaging 3.6 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 5 games. So really good run. Even if you go ahead and stretch the data out further to the last 20 games, 80% hit rate, averaging 2.65 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. Very solid run of late, the last month or two for Brooks Lee. And honestly, he's been having a good year all around. I mean, a 52% hit rate on the season, averaging 1.9 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. You definitely see in the data in the first half of this half season, a lot more red for him, but of late, a lot more green. Again, he's been on a very solid run basically since the end of May all the way through now the end of June, the last month or so. He's been on a very solid run. The head-to-head data also very solid. 5 of his last 7 matchups against the Detroit Tigers, he's cashed the over with a 71% hit rate, averaging 2.43 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 7 matchups with Detroit. So pretty good head-to-head numbers versus the Tigers. He has played them 2 times so far this year, April 13th and then yesterday, and he's cashed the over in both games. In last night's game, pretty solid performance, 2 hits and 2 RBIs. So really good data here. We also have the insights provided by Outlier, which kind of reiterate a lot of the same stuff we were talking about here. A little more of a narrow view in terms of what the numbers look like on the road. Brooks Lee has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 5 of his last 6 games on the road, averaging 3 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 6 road games. So pretty good numbers there. And if we look down below here to the key matchup stats, Brooks Lee is, of course, a switch hitter here. He only has 2 plate appearances versus Casey Mize, or Casey Mize. Again, you guys know, if you've been watching my videos, the name pronunciation, even though I've watched the games, I've seen him pitch, I'm stuck with name pronunciation. Casey Mize, 2 plate appearances since 2018. He has a hit off of him and an RBI. Again, very small sample size, not too much to go off of there. Now, Brooks Lee having a solid year, like we talked about. 281 batting average, 106.3 WRC plus on the year. Versus right-handed pitchers, some slight increases there in both batting average and WRC plus. Now, for Casey Mize, now the numbers show versus left-handed batters, I guess Brooks Lee, he primarily bats lefty. He's a switch hitter, though. So in this matchup, it would make sense that he's going to hit righty because he has a clear advantage going up against KCM when in terms of batting righty. And if we go ahead and jump on over to the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard, again, you see versus left-handed hitters, a lot of success this year, but versus right-handed hitters, not as much. Specifically in batting average, you see 285 batting average allowed this year against right-handed hitters. Again, Brooks Lee being a switch hitter can bat righty if necessary. And in this matchup, it makes a lot of sense for him to go ahead and bat righty. If we go over here, the right side of the screen here, looking at Brooks Lee's numbers here versus right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days, the numbers are significantly higher here. 345 batting average, 939 OPS. Again, going back to the overall season numbers, he's playing pretty well across the entire year versus right-handed pitchers. But if we narrow it down, really good numbers of late. I think it's a really solid matchup. And again, as a plus money play, you can throw like half a unit on this and still leave home happy. So pretty solid second player prop in today's video. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's video, we have Mariners, Rangers, 4:05 p.m. first pitch. We got Kumar Rocker of the Rangers over 4.5 hits allowed. We got some EV plus stuff going on there too, which adds some value there. I'm grabbing it for minus 140 on BetMGM, but again, a lot of different options there for you guys if you want to go ahead and tail this bet. And the data is pretty solid. Now, to be fair, he hasn't pitched a ton this year. Look at the last 10 games. He's only pitched 8 games this year. So he started the year at the end of March. So not as much time there. We go ahead. He had a long break here between April and June. You see he had over a month between starts. That April 23rd start versus the Athletics, and then June 4th start versus Tampa. But 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this over. And if we go to the entire 2025 season data, he's cashed it in every single game except for the June 15th start against Chicago, which is not all that surprising considering it was the White Sox, who are a dumpster fire of an MLB team. Apologies to all my White Sox fans out there. I don't root for them to be bad. They are. They're very bad. So 7 of 8 starts this year, he's cashed the over. He's averaging 5.63 hits allowed per game this year, which obviously is not very good, but it is good for us in this circumstance. And look at the head-to-head data. He has played Seattle already once this year, back on April 12th, and the Mariners won 9-2, so a rough loss for Texas there, and Kumar Rocker did give up 5 hits in that game. Previous start, September 12th of last year, he actually cashed the under, but again, that was last season. The one game we have this year to go off of a little over 2 months ago, he did cash the over. Now again, referring over the dashboard over on GuyBostonSports.com, I like to use this because we do get to see the more recent numbers over the last 30 days. And over the last 30 days, Seattle's offense has come alive. You see the 6th best offense in terms of batting average over the last 30 days versus right-handed pitchers, 7th, so still very good. Across the board, some categories, they're better than others, but across the board, they're pretty consistently good. Specifically, of course, talking about the last 30 days. And versus right-handed pitchers away. Now, it's a very limited sample size because, again, you're looking at a very specific data range here. Versus right-handed pitchers and on the road, there's only so many games and so many samples to utilize there. But in those samples we have, they are one of the better hitting teams on the road against right-handed pitchers. So all the matchups seem to be pretty solid here. And again, you're just matching up with a pitcher who typically gives up a lot of hits to begin with, going up against an offense that has been hitting the ball very, very well. That is usually a recipe for success when talking about pitcher props. So, those two combinations, a hot offense versus a struggling pitcher, minus 140 odds, EV plus value as well. I think it's a pretty solid player prop as the 3rd player prop in today's video. By the way, guys, we're about to hit the 12-minute mark in today's video, so please comment 12 down below if you are still watching at this point. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. Myself, Ev, and Trey put a lot of hard work into these videos, so if you do stick around and watch through, we appreciate you guys. So comment 12 down below if you're still watching at this point. All right, guys, our 4th player prop in today's video, and spoiler alert, the rest of the player props the rest of the way will be pitcher props. We have Rockies, Brewers, 4:10 p.m. first pitch. We have Antonio Senzatella over 2.5 earned runs. We're grabbing this one for minus 135 over on DraftKings. But again, available on a number of different sports books for varying odds. Now, the overall data is actually pretty solid, although he is coming off of 2 pretty decent starts. 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 4.2 earned runs per game over his last 10 games with a couple of really bad starts, followed by 0 earned runs giving up versus Washington, and then 2 earned runs given up versus Arizona. So back-to-back quality starts from him, but prior to that, not so much. If we do look at the overall season data here for Senzatella, 10 of 15 starts, he's cashed the over. That's a 67% hit rate, averaging 3.67 earned runs per game this year. So again, like I said, pretty good numbers across the board. He is coming off of a couple decent starts, but the overall data seems to suggest this guy's having a bit of a rough year. And the head-to-head data couldn't be any more impressive. Now, it's only one game, but they did play this year back on April 9th, so a little over 2 months ago, or more than 2 months ago now, I guess. I can't believe we're already in the end of June. But really rough performance there. The Brewers scored 17 runs the last time that they faced off against Senzatella. Now, obviously, he didn't give up 17 earned runs, but he did give up 8 earned runs. So really big number. We only need to give up 3 this time around. So like I said, the data is pretty consistently good across the board. The insight provided by Outlier just kind of reiterates the same thing, that he's cashed the over 8 of his last 10 games. Now, referring back to the dashboard over on Guy Boston Sports, there are Antonio Senzatella's numbers this year, and they're not good. 6.49 ERA. Yeah, not good. A lot of red there. A lot of red there. So that's obviously not good for him. Very good for us. You also go ahead and look up above here at Milwaukee. We'll talk about Milwaukee's offense in a second, but you do look ahead. Runs scored per game this year, 470, so averaging 4.74 runs per game this season. Runs scored per game at home, 3.88. Not as impressive. Medium, see the yellow color, medium. However, runs scored per game over the last 3 games, 7.67. So they're on a really good run. First 5 runs scored per game on the year, 2.74. That's obviously very important because most pitchers, they don't usually last more than 5, 6, 7 innings. So those first 5 innings, 2.74 runs, obviously very good. And their last 3 games, averaging 6 runs scored in the first 5 innings per game over the last 3 games. The key thing for me here is that Milwaukee's offense over the last 30 days have been very, very solid. They are the 3rd best hitting team in terms of average in Major League Baseball over the last 30 days. Even versus right-handed pitchers, you narrow it down a little further. Still top 10. You see a lot of green there in those numbers. Now, the one category that is a little alarming here is versus right-handed pitchers at home. They do rank in the bottom 5 in a lot of categories. That being said, again, a very specific data point there. At home and versus right-handed pitchers, there's only so many games that fit in that sample size. Is it something to keep in mind? Absolutely, but it doesn't scare me away from the fact that Milwaukee's been on a very good run, especially over the last few days. They've been hitting the ball very well, and even look at their batting versus pitch in terms of runs above average over the last 30 days. Pretty much every pitch except for the sinker, they're hitting very, very strongly off of, and we look at the pitch count here for Senzatella. He only uses the sinker at 4.2%. Fastball is very heavy, 52%. They're the 3rd best team in terms of runs above average versus fastballs over the last 30 days. His second most utilized pitch, the slider, they're 6th. So it's just a really good matchup across the board here. And the last time they played, he gave up 8 runs. 3 runs seems very gettable for me. Really solid 4th player prop. That one honestly might be my play of the day. The more I talked about it, the more I fell. I was already in love with it to begin with, but the more I talked about it, the more I fell in love with it. That just seems, and that's the scary part though, is that you see bets like that and you immediately think it's too easy. The matchup just seems golden on paper there, considering the last time they played, considering everything else. So I still love it. I'm still going to put at least a unit on it, but I think it's a great player prop. I really do. All right, guys, our 5th and final player prop in today's video. We have Marlins Diamondbacks, 4:10 p.m. first pitch. We got Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins, over 2.5 earned runs. Grabbing that for -130 on ESPN Bet. Again, one more time, available in a lot of different places for a lot of different odds. And the data is pretty solid. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 3.8 earned runs per game over the last 10 games. Overall this year, a 67% hit rate on the over, 10 out of 15 starts. He's cashed the over, averaging 3.67 earned runs per game this year. And if we go ahead and look at the insights provided by Outlier, this dates back to last year also. Or actually, no, this is all this year. Sorry, because he has played 15 games this year. So 10 of his last 13 starts, he's cashed the over, averaging 3.9 earned runs per game over the last 13 starts. So pretty good numbers here, especially of late. You do see a few unders there. However, that's Colorado, Pittsburgh, 2 really bad offenses. And then Philly is kind of the one outlier, but their offense, is hit or miss sometimes. But, a couple of those unders there, it's understandable. It's Colorado and it's Pittsburgh. But pretty consistently throughout the year, Sandy Alcantara has cashed that over. And then looking here at the dashboard, again, Alcantara, 6.69 ERA this year. Really struggling across the board. Although Brandon Fat, whatever you want to call it, like I said, terrible with the name pronunciations. Brandon P., also not great. So this is a good potential over game. I don't really, obviously we focus on player props here. The over might not be a bad play in this one. But this is just a bad matchup for Sandy Alcantara. If we go ahead and narrow it down here to the Diamondbacks hitting over the last 30 days, again, top 10 hitting team versus right-handed pitchers. In general, we narrow it down top 5, and it really just green. A lot of green here across the board. The one area they're not great, the strikeout rate is a little high, but it's not bad. It's about middle of the road. The Diamondbacks are hitting very well. They're always obviously also at home. If we go ahead up above, the numbers all point to this being a good over bet. Go ahead and maybe I should zoom out a little bit there instead of pressing up every time. Runs scored per game this year, the Diamondbacks 5.2, obviously a very solid offense. Runs scored per game at home this year, 5.31, so slightly better. And then runs scored per game over the last 3 games, averaging 5, so pretty good. Although Miami, look at that, 9.67, so Miami of late, really solid offensively. Again, the over might not be a bad play. First 5 runs scored per game this year, Diamondbacks 2.95, obviously very good. First 5 runs scored per game at home, 3.05. So that's kind of a key thing. Again, these pitchers, they're only going to pitch, especially if they're not great, 5 to 6 innings. So, having that runs per 5 innings thing is a very important stat to look at here, especially looking at overs. They're averaging over 3 runs per game at home over the first 5 innings. To me, this is a really no-brainer player prop, kind of like the last one. The matchup is just too sweet. The overall data is solid. The recent run is solid. Offense is really good. If we look down below here, Arizona, kind of all year long, have been a really good offense. Top 5 on the year, top 4 over the last 30 days. So across the board, really solid player prop to go ahead and close out today's video. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back tomorrow. Actually, not tomorrow. Apologies. We'll be back on Monday. Jesus. Monday. We'll be back on Monday with another MLB player prop video. Sometimes the noodle brain just activates and you just nothing going on up there, which, I mean, I know the guppies are going to love to hear that. But guys, we'll see you back here on Monday with another MLB player prop video. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your weekend. Have some fun. Hopefully the weather's good where you are. It's New England, so of course, right on cue, it's raining on a Saturday. Go figure. But until next time, guys, hope you're all winners. Let's go ahead, make some money.